Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Real Talk here on TV 35. I'm your host, Pat Brock, and I'm sitting on the front porch here with Miss Barb Johns of W.I.N.G.S. How are you, Barb?
Doing real well. Thank you, Pat.
I mean, it's a beautiful day out here.
It is.
And, and we're going to talk about a subject matter that, can get a little bit difficult to talk about and to share about, but it's so necessary.
I believe it is, yes. Thank you.
Barb, kind of remind them who you are and who you represent.
Okay.
And what we're talking about today.
Okay. I work for W.I.N.G.S, which is the Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Shelter. And we have, as you know from that title, a domestic violence sexual assault program. Right. And I'm the community educator there, and we're open 24/7, 365, as a lot of people may already know. And the main thing I guess I could say about April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month is that all of us pretty much are responsible for getting the word out. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And yet, as you say, it is a sensitive subject. Right. So we do our best to just get the information out that this is a serious subject. Right. And it never fails that every day, either on the news or on your homepage, on the computer, there is something being said about it.
You're
yes,
right.
ma'am.
And of course, we're wearing the colors. We're wearing teal and denim in awareness and support of just having that information about sexual assault and being aware of what to look for and things that we can do and tools to be able to help one another.
Correct.
Right?
And the color teal is the color for April, which is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, as you mentioned. And then how teal came with the denim is because there are so many that do wear denim, right. But there is a National Denim Day.
That's right.
And that causes us to want to kind of like dress the part so we can bring awareness. And one of the things that's important to realize the history of that Denim Day, which a lot of folk may not be aware of. But what happened was that in Italy, there was a case of a young 18-year-old girl, and she was, I believe it was a driving instructor, if I'm not mistaken, and this is years back, but he took her to an unknown location and proceeded to rape her. And once she got home, she told her parents about it. And so they, of course, went and filed the police report and this, that. And he was married 45 years old. And she was, I told you, 18. Right. So anyway, it can happen to anybody, anywhere, anytime, any age is what I'm getting at.
That's right.
It just doesn't make any difference. And so they did go to court. He was found guilty. And what also happened was that after he'd been sentenced and been in prison for a while, made an appeal. And the appeal, it was overturned about that conviction. And the rationale behind it was that the judge from the appellate court said that her jeans were so tight that there is no way that that man could have got those jeans off without her assistance, so therefore it was consensual. Well, that outraged so many people that found out about it that that became an issue for having National Denim Day to bring awareness that it shouldn't have anything to do with what you're wearing.
That's right. And when we talk about that, we have to talk about younger generations of kids. So, of course they dress differently, but it's not about how you dress. That is, I've heard some people say, oh, well, she's dressed ready to be raped. I've heard that a few times in my work in sexual assault and also being on campuses, whether it's high school or college campuses, saying, oh, you dress that way. But there are a lot of adults who see that and say that.
I know.
So let's kind of dispel some of the rumors and the different things that people say about sexual assault. Let's define that. We want you to get a clear understanding of what sexual assault is.
Well, the main thing is you are supposed to have consent. Right. And the other thing that a lot of folk need to realize is that minors can't give consent. You're going to get yourself into a world of hurt and a lot of trouble if you feel like that somebody said it was okay, they gave their consent, and here they are 14 years old.
Right.
That does not work. And so therefore, you must be very careful, or you can be labeled as a sexual predator. And the other thing is that for most people to say, oh, well, you know, it was the way they dressed or the way they walked or where they were or this, that. And that is not the case. It is still, sexual assault is more about power and control of somebody and violence than it has anything to do with sex, period.
That's right. And we also want you to understand that men can be raped as well.
Absolutely.
Having worked as a sexual assault trainer for the Army, I remember cases to where the stigma of a man not even being able to report or feeling ashamed to report, not just a woman, but for a man, that feels maybe degrading for him, takes away his manhood, so to speak. And so there's male rape as well. So we want you to be cognizant of that as well, and not to think that it's just females.
Right, it crosses all lines. It doesn't matter, again, about the age, about the sex, about the race, about the religion, about anything.
Right.
And we are finding out more and more about so many that have come forward having been assaulted or raped or whatever the case may be. And they, as you say, they were just too embarrassed and humiliated and degraded to ever tell anybody. And maybe this happened by a priest. Maybe it happened by one of their coaches, or maybe it happened by who?
Yeah, someone of authority, someone that they look up to.
Right, and a lot of them felt like nobody'd ever believe them because they're told that. And often there is threats, and so they're really afraid to come forward as well a lot of times.
Right.
And what you said is true. Approximately 1 in 4 females and approximately 1 in 7 males, if they're reported.
Right.
I mean, if you are reporting anything, it could be a lot more than that.
And I'm quite sure that it is. And you know, you hear a lot in the news about the Me Too movement.
Correct.
You hear a lot of that, especially like in the industry of entertainment, and a lot of that where they're reporting after years and years of abuse. Some have been, you know, shown to be factual, and some not necessarily factual. And so I think with me, with my history in sexual assault and domestic violence, I don't just be so quick to judge.
Right. Absolutely. That is one thing that can really, really hurt a victim, is if people are being so judgmental, whether it's male or female, again, it doesn't make any difference, again, about picking them apart as to how that possibly could happen, as in your fault. You must have said something or done something or whatever. And then a lot of times, as you were saying, like with the Me Too movement, why now?
Right. That's a lot.
Why are you coming forward now?
Right. What is your motive behind that?
And I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody who accuses somebody of sexual assault may be on the up and honest. I'm not going to say that.
Right.
But statistically, there's probably a lot more that haven't come forward and that they're telling the truth, as opposed to the ones that's not.
That's right. And I think that a person from the outside looking in, when they see that, when they see someone reporting after 10, 15, 20 years, and it's like, and so if there's a person who's been sexually assaulted, they'll watch that. They'll hear the chatter of what people think.
Right.
And the judgment on it, and it's like, okay, well, I will never, ever report or say anything about what happened to me.
Until maybe they're dead.
Yeah.
You know it? And I'm talking about whoever the person was.
Right.
Be that a stepfather, uncle, neighbor, minister, teacher, whoever.
And they don't feel the threat then.
Right. So they will come forward and they feel safe. And there have been so many that has happened to lately, where they have come forward. And I noted that the Catholic Church is coming down hard now, whereas a lot of them were never believed, or they'd go sweep it under the rug, or whatever the case may be with a lot of the even major religions, period. It doesn't have to be Catholic, I'm just saying. That was one that came forward not too long ago. I think it was Pope Francis, actually. And they're going to put the hammer down.
That's good.
Yeah. So that they won't feel so bad about what happened to them years ago.
That's right, so that they can heal,
Right.
start the healing process. We're going to take a commercial break, and we'll be back with Ms. Barb Jones talking about some different ways that we ourselves can be advocates, not just for our families, but for our friends and people in our community concerning sexual assault. We'll be back in just a moment.
The temperature's rising and summer's almost here, so why not make a big splash with your family and friends this summer with a pool from Georgia Pools. And you can relax in a luxurious feeling hot tub or sauna available from Georgia Pools. Our above ground pools start as low as $54.95 with no down payments, and easy financing. Georgia Pools has a large selection of pool chemicals and accessories from name brands like Polaris, Aquabuy, and Protein Chemicals. There's a lot more to choose from, and if you already have a pool and need a liner, in-ground liner replacements are as low as $105.49 per month with no money down. Give Georgia Pools a call at 275-3607 or stop by and visit the showroom today at 1201 Hillcrest Parkway, Dublin. Stop in today at your Wrightsville, Silverton, or Adrian Jet Food Stores for breakfast made fresh daily. The best breakfast biscuits and breakfast platters around. Join us for lunch with fresh chicken, pork chops, fried fish, fresh vegetables, as well as a daily manager special from chicken pot pies, meatloaf, and beef tips and rice. Hungry yet? Hurry into your Jet Food Store today, and don't forget to call ahead, and we'll have your favorite Hunt's Brothers pizza made to order. Come to your hometown Jet Deli today.
We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about sexual assault awareness. We've got Miss Barb Johns with us here. And, you know, Barb, as we were talking about ways that we can be advocates.
Correct.
To be able to help people instead of judge people, and how, you know, things to look at. You know,
yes.
That's a big thing, isn't it? Because we're in a society now where everybody judges, and social media is a big tool that people use to judge. It's like that fingertip courage, wouldn't you say?
Yes, yes. And, you know, anytime you're being really judged harshly about anything, that's very painful and very hurtful.
Right.
If you finally got the courage to come forward, and one of the things I'm thinking about, for whatever reason, is that sometimes you have children in your home who try to tell you that Uncle so-and-so or maybe Aunt so-and-so or whoever did X, Y, and Z to me. And the person that they're telling, be that a grandmother or a mother or a dad or who, doesn't want to believe them.
Right.
And puts them down and say, quit making up stories. And you don't need to be telling things like that and lying about people and all this kind of thing. And it is tragic because there's some, nowadays for sure, there are some who will take that and want to actually commit suicide.
I was going to say
because
that.
it hurt them so bad.
I was going to say that, how that's all encompassing when you're talking about abuse on many levels, and when a person is unheard, when a person is not validated for something that has happened to them, and people who are close to them don't believe them.
Exactly.
Don't believe them. That is tragic, and we've got so many cases where that has been happening.
Yes, we have. We have had too many. The escalation of suicide to be the answer for all problems is just awful. And we're seeing it seemingly more and more and more. And I think that a large part of that comes from what we just said and you mentioned, which you're not validated.
Right.
People aren't believing you, and they're not giving you encouragement, they're not giving you support, and it's almost like, well, you know what, that's your problem. Whatever happened back whenever,
Or
I
get
don't
over
want
it.
to hear it.
Get over it. You got to get over it. That's been years from now. But, you know, things that happen to us in our childhood and even as adults, those things, they're things that can trigger something that has happened years ago where you've suppressed it or forgotten it even. And then when one thing can happen and it brings it all rushing back to you.
110% correct. And one thing I've tried, you know, I do a support group. If anybody was interested in coming to support group, we have a support group usually on Thursday nights, and it's usually from 4:30 to 5:30. But the purpose of that is support group.
Right.
And people do not have to talk necessarily, but one of the things that I try to do is what you just said, is to try to be encouraging, try to be supportive, try to be validating of whatever somebody's sharing. And yes, there are some stories that are out there. I mean, you know, they're way out there. But I think whatever the human mind can conceive, that more than likely it has been done somewhere at some point.
Absolutely.
You know?
And me working in television and understanding about movies, when a person writes a story from a movie, it comes from a mind. It comes from something, you know, in their imagination, something they may have seen and exaggerated upon. So it comes from somewhere. And so I think that it's important that we as individuals, I say individuals because as a group with WINGS, as a group with the Hope and Darkness Foundation, we as individuals have a responsibility.
Correct. And the other thing I wanted to mention before I forget, Pat, and I had mentioned this to you earlier, but WINGS also has that sexual assault person that is hired to help and assist if you want to report and get assistance for a rape or a sexual assault or violence, sexual violence, whatever it might be. Her name is Faith Bishop. She works at WINGS, and she will accompany you and she will assist you in the ways that she's able to. Now, the other thing I must say is this is not for minors.
Right.
Stepping Stone here in Dublin is for minors.
Right.
At the police department, da-da-da.
And that's Brooke Wood. She's the executive director of Stepping Stone.
Exactly. Great person. And so if there is that issue, you can call us, and we will try to be of help to you.
And I love the fact that there's so many different agencies and organizations right here in Dublin, Lawrence County that can help you. And I think that people need to know that there are resources out there.
Correct.
And to not be afraid. Not be afraid, because you know fear comes when you think about the repercussions of what if so and so found out, what if they knew on my job, you know. But it's something where you have to really dig deep and know that you want to get to a better place.
That's right. You want healing
mentally, and it starts from the inside.
Correct.
And worketh itself out.
That's right. Whatever you feel, you can heal. I bet that book that was written. And then there's also the fact that when I had someone in group one time who said, how do you get rid of the bad memories?
Yeah.
How do you erase bad memories? And actually, when it's in the brain, it's very difficult to ever erase much of anything.
It is.
And so my point in saying that is I had said to her, I said, honey, I'm sorry, but you're going to have a lobotomy for that to happen because the brain records.
Right.
And if you get the lobotomy, it doesn't take just the bad memories. It takes all memories, you see? So that's not a possibility, and therefore that is why you do need help.
That's right.
To reach out.
And it's okay.
Yes.
It's okay to get help. And you know, we're all human beings.
Yes.
And we all have our own stories and our own experiences, things that we've gone through. Correct. But I take the tragic things that have happened to me in my life, and they fuel me to be the person that I am today, the advocate that I am today, and how I live my life, how I treat people, whether I know you or not, whether you mistreat me or not. I am fueled by the things that I've experienced that were not so good in my life, and I turn that around for the good. So I make a choice. You've got to make a choice.
Absolutely. And it is difficult. We've already said that. And it is scary. Already said that. But it's a must if you want to get better. Yeah. It's a must if you want to get a new life, so to speak, and to go on and have more positive things happen in your life. And like you said, I don't know of too many people that go through this life unscathed. Without some horror or trauma or bad things that have happened to them.
That's right. That's right. And I think that it's all for our growing. And so we want to really encourage people out there, because there is someone out there that is watching this today that has been sexually assaulted, that knows someone who has been sexually assaulted. And our heart goes out to you. But we want you to know that there's hope. Yes. We want you to know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We're living proof of that.
Yes.
We are living proof of that. And you know, Barb, let's give them some different. How can they reach out? What numbers can they call? Okay. Give us all of that, okay?
Thank you for asking, and thank you for having this program. I don't want to forget that. Sure. Anyway, we have the 24/7 365 hotline, and the area code is 478, and you can dial 272-8000. And ask for someone that could help with a sexual assault or sexual violence or whatever the case may be. And then there are also, if you have access to internet, there's also different places that can also help. And one of them, RAINN, RAINN.org. And then you also have WINGS. and that's, I can't remember a lot of times if it's .org or .com. You know, they get you confused sometimes.
Right.
But we also have information in brochure form, so that if somebody called and said, you know, I'd just like to have some brochures to read, that's all I'd really like.
Right.
So that they can get more information, be happy to do that.
That's
Meet
good.
them somewhere, give them to them, mail them, whatever they want.
That's good. And discretion. Don't worry about anyone knowing your business. That's another thing where, you know, I know what the policy is when it comes to working in sexual assault and domestic violence, about the discretion that takes place. So you wouldn't have that to worry about at all. It just requires courage. It requires courage to come forth. But we want you to also, you know, if it ever gets to that, or you know, if that ever happens, to just look out, you know, we've got to make special, like we've got to take consideration where we are, surroundings. You know, you and I talked about, we talked about being safe, and traveling in pairs. Don't go by yourself somewhere. What other things, Barb, would you say?
You know, I've often thought that maybe, you know, some people will talk about different weapons that they could get, the tasers and the pepper sprays and all that kind of stuff. Well, you just be real sure you know how to use that.
That's right.
You know
That's
it?
right.
And even have been told that wasp spray, that if you could possibly get your hands on wasp spray, that could also, if you can get somebody's eyes, that might be helpful. And I've also seen where they have those life alerts, and that's a possibility if you're on a campus.
Right.
And I know you always see, oh, you know, the elderly people, and that's not really for teenagers or whatever. But if it works, I mean, come on now.
That's right. And there's self-defense courses that you can take as well to defend yourself in case something happens. And one thing about me at night, so if I'm leaving any building, I always get my keys before I go outside, because I don't want to get caught digging in my purse. And I always look up under my car, because people can be hiding up under your cars. Always look up under my car. I do all of those things. I don't walk close to.
You don't want to take anything for granted.
Nothing for granted.
No.
And it's very important to be safe in whatever that we do.
It is, and to always be mindful of where you are and watching, because a lot of times there's somebody watching you.
Right.
And so a lot of times you have to be astute and aware. And if you have that gut feeling, you know, a lot of times we just kind of ignore that.
You gotta trust it.
Right. And you've got to trust
You
that.
gotta trust it, baby.
And even as a mama, if it's
know.
something about your child that you say, well, no, I don't really want you to go, and then they're begging and they're jumping up and down and carrying on, they want to go. But you have to sometimes put your foot down, and you have to say no.
Yeah, you're right.
About things.
You're absolutely right. And two, I mean, you hate to have to think about things like this.
I know.
But you have to think about these things. And then, you know, my kids are in college, so, and I'm not, you know, naive to think they don't go out partying and stuff. But, you know, drinking, you got to make sure that you have your drink with you at all times, because you know they can slip roofies in there. And
yes, very dangerous.
Very dangerous.
Yes.
And so I know you can go online to find so many different things just to kind of be cautious of when you're out with your friends, you're having a good time, but still keep that mind sharp and alert.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's sad that you have to be that way. But there has been a lot of times increase in sexual assault and violence as some go to college.
That's right.
And stay in dorms and then the partying, as you say, and drinking and drugging and carrying on.
Yeah.
You might feel like you're having a good time and having fun, but your inhibitions a lot of times can be affected, and then you can find yourself in some very compromising situations, and it can be very scary, and you can get yourself hurt.
That's right. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure getting to chat with you again, you know, out here in the beautiful day here, you know, talking about a very sensitive subject. And we hope that something that we've shared with you today will help you and give you more insight, or just kind of light that fire in you again, to just make sure you're vigilant about very simple things so that you can keep yourselves and your family safe.
Absolutely. Thank you again so much, Pat, Channel 35, for having us.
We're so glad to have you with us here. Remember, the month of April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Wherever you are, continue to be safe, continue to be wise, right?
Absolutely.
And education definitely is the key.
That's exactly right. Prevention. Yes. And we will come and give presentations if needed to wherever. It might be a school, it might be a church, it might be a business, or wherever. We'd be happy to.
And sexual assault can happen with anyone, anywhere.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all the time we have for Real Talk, ladies and gentlemen, here on TV 35. And please keep watching.